Stories Between Us anthology, where Black queer men's lives, love, and tension take center stage. It started like nothing. Just another night, just another scroll through a site he had no business being on. The kind you keep tucked in a private browser, volume low, light off. He wasn't looking for anything special, just background noise for a hand and a fantasy. But then he saw him. Black mask, baseball cap low, bare chest catching the glow from a cheap ring light, jawline clean, shoulders rolled like they belonged in slow motion. Familiar. Too familiar. He clicked in. The camera tightened on the man's mouth, soft lips pulling back into something between a smirk and an invitation. Then the voice hit, low, raspy, slow enough to make you lean in. And that's when his stomach dropped. It was him. The man next door. The same man who waved when walking his pitbull at 8 a.m., who grilled on Sundays with his wife in the yard, who always smelled like something expensive when you passed him by the mailbox. Married, straight, untouchable. Until now. The first night, he stayed silent in the chat. Just watched. Let the recognition settle in his bones. Let the disbelief turn into something else. By the second night, he was tipping. Small at first, then more. Each tip earning a longer stare into the camera, a slower hand down his chest, fingers tracing the waistband of his shorts. By the end of the week, he knew the man's schedule better than his own. Yard work before dinner, mail run before sunset, dog walk at 8, wife upstairs by 10. And by 11, the mask came on. Daylight was the real test, passing each other on trash day, catching eyes in the driveway. Just neighborly nods. Hello, how you doing? Nothing in his tone giving away that 12 hours earlier, he was on camera telling him exactly what to do next. He started asking for more. Gloves, slow unmasking, bending over just enough to make the chat lose its mind. The man did it all, never breaking eye contact with the lens, never saying his name, just moving like he knew every hidden part of the person on the other side. Then one night, mid-show, the neighbor typed 3 words in the private chat. Come. Over. Now, he sat there, frozen. The screen was still live, viewers still tipping, chat still rolling. But those 3 words pulled him straight out of the fantasy and into something sharper. Real. Dangerous. He closed the laptop, threw on a black jacket, slipped out the side door. Crossing that patch of lawn felt like walking into a dare. Every sound was louder. Crickets, his own breath, the hum of the AC unit. The door opened before he could knock. Shirtless, mask still on, chest rising like he'd just finished a set. They stood there, close enough to feel each other's heat, not saying a word. Inside, the glow from the computer lit the room. The cam site still open, chat blowing up with questions. The air smelled like cologne and weed. He stepped in. The door clicked shut. They moved slow, but not careful. Close enough to feel the weight of the weeks they'd been pretending. Fingers brushed, a breath caught. One more step and it was happening. Until it wasn't. A car door slammed outside. Keys rattled. A woman's voice, light and easy, calling his name. They froze. He backed toward the kitchen, slipped out the back door just as she walked in. From the shadows, he heard her laugh, heard him greet her like nothing was off. Back in his bed, laptop open, the neighbor was online again, mask on, staring right into the camera and smiling. If you haven't heard the previous episode in the series, we recommend starting there. This story follows Jarvis, a quiet neighbor who stumbles onto a campsite one night and recognizes the masked performer on screen, Terry, the married man who lives next door. What begins as anonymous watching turns into something much more dangerous when Terry invites him over in secret. This episode picks up days later as tension simmers beneath the surface and Claire, Terry's wife and head of the neighborhood association, unknowingly pulls them all closer together. Before the cupcakes, before the block party, before the folding chairs in the garage and the kiss in the hallway, there was a moment in the dark when Jarvis almost crossed the line. It started weeks earlier, during a late-night scroll through a site he rarely admitted to using. Private browser, volume low. Just background noise for a restless body and a quiet urge. Until he saw the man on screen, shirtless, masked, lips parted just enough to catch the glow of the ring light. There was something about the shoulders, the jaw, the way he moved. Familiar. Too familiar. It was Terry, the man next door. By day, Terry walked his pitbull in a fitted tee and cologne that clung to the mailbox. Always polite. Married. Safe. By night, he logged onto a campsite, faceless and bold, performing for strangers. Jarvis had watched silently at first, then tipped, then lingered too long. Until one night the message came through. Come. Over. Now Jarvis had crossed the lawn without thinking. Walked into Terry's house like he'd done it before. And maybe in some ways he had. In fantasy, in imagination, in the thousand ways desire rehearses itself before it becomes real. They didn't speak, didn't need to. Until headlights flashed through the blinds. Until keys jingled at the front door. Until Claire, Terry's wife and the president of the neighborhood association, called out from the driveway. Light and casual, like everything was. Exactly how it should be. Jarvis had slipped out the back door before she walked in. That was days ago. Now, tonight, Terry is online again. No words, no build-up. Just a quick, focused session. The kind of show that feels less like seduction and more like a release. Jarvis doesn't even touch himself this time. Just watches. Eyes locked. Remembering the way Terry had looked at him not through the screen, but up close, in the doorway, bare-chested, breathless, daring him to stay. The screen cuts off clean. The next morning, there's a knock at Jarvis's door. It's Claire. She's holding a tray of cupcakes, red velvet, homemade, each one frosted to perfection and topped with a little paper flag that reads, Happy Block Party. She's bright, smiling, wrapped in early morning sunshine and Lululemon. Her hair pulled back, her lip gloss set, her scent a clean mix of lemon lotion and fresh laundry. She speaks like someone used to running things. The kind of woman who doesn't wait for agreement, just assumes it. She mentions the neighborhood event next weekend, says they could really use more hands this year, says Jarvis has a calm vibe she likes, says Thursday would be a great day to help with planning. And just before she leaves, she tosses it in like a casual afterthought. Terry will be home too. Says the two of them should get to know each other better. Jarvis closes the door with the tray still in his hands. the smell of frosting and citrus hanging in the air. Thursday arrives with little fanfare. The inside of Terry and Claire's home is soft, curated, and just the right kind of lived in. Neutral tones, framed engagement photos, a candle burning near the sink, eucalyptus and mint. Claire is already mid-motion when Jarvis walks in, balancing her laptop in one hand and a clipboard in the other, music playing low on a smart speaker. Her presence fills the space, warm, efficient, sharp. Then Terry enters. No mask this time, no ring light, just a t-shirt damp from a workout, athletic shorts hanging low on his hips, and that scent, expensive cologne softened by weed and sweat. He gives Jarvis a nod that's almost nothing, and somehow, everything. Claire assigns them to the garage, folding chairs, supply bins, small tasks that feel enormous once the door closes behind them. The garage is hot, the air still. It smells like mulch and motor oil. Plastic bins stacked with holiday decorations and old gym equipment. They don't speak. They move around each other with the kind of silence that buzzes, that hums just beneath the skin. When Terry reaches across him to grab a folding table, their arms touch. Jarvis doesn't flinch. Neither does he. 2 days later, the block party hits full volume. There are coolers packed with beer, kids running barefoot across sidewalks, grills going, music blasting from somebody's Bluetooth speaker duct taped to a tree. The street feels like it belongs to someone else. Loud, chaotic, sticky with heat and sweet barbecue smoke. Claire moves through it all like a campaign ad, hugging neighbors, reassigning tasks, fixing decorations with one hand while waving with the other. Her dress is fitted, her hair smooth, her smile polished. She doesn't miss a beat. Jarvis tries to stay useful, grabs trash bags, refills the utensils, pretends to text when Terry walks by. There's no eye contact, not at first. Then a glance across the drinks table. Then another glace at each other near the speaker. Then a moment in passing. A whisper, low enough to feel, not here. Front door is unlocked, says Terry as he walks by. Jarvis doesn't move right away. He waits, watches, times it just right. Claire is deep in conversation with two neighbors about recycling bins. Someone's asking her to check the raffle tickets. Jarvis slips away at this moment. Inside Terry's house, it's cooler, quieter. The kitchen smells like the inside of someone else's shirt. That mix of skin and detergent and something unspoken. Terry stands at the counter, shirtless. 2 open beers. One is already sweating. There's no rush this time. They stand there for a second too long, both of them pretending this is a decision. Terry says it's not that serious. Says the cam stuff is just fun. Says Claire doesn't need to know. Says some things just don't have to mean anything. Jarvis doesn't answer. Not with words. They move closer. Hands, then lips. Shirts falling away. Heat rising. They make it to the hallway before the kiss deepens. Terry's hand pressing against Jarvis's lower back. Jarvis's lips trailing along his neck. The kind of kiss that feels earned. That remembers. That knows better and leans in anyway. And then the doorbell. They freeze. Jarvis's hand is still on Terry's waist, breath caught in his throat. Then Claire's voice, just outside, calling Terry's name, says she's looking for Jarvis, says someone told her he might have come inside. She says she needs his signature. Jarvis doesn't move. Terry stays still. Then come the keys, the jingle, the shift in the doorknob, the slow sound of it unlocking. And that's where it happens. Jarvis hadn't planned on saying anything. The bottle of wine was almost gone, the playlist on its second loop, and his friend Dion was already stretched across the couch like he didn't plan on moving anytime soon. They were tipsy, loose, half watching some movie neither of them picked on purpose. It slipped out casually, almost like a dare. Jarvis told Dion there was something wild he had to see. Something that started as curiosity and turned into complication. He explained it the way people tell secrets they half regret knowing. That his married neighbor, the one with the pitbull and the wife who ran the neighborhood association, had a secret life online. That at night, while his wife was upstairs or out of town, the neighbor went live on a campsite in a black mask, putting on a show for strangers, and that Jarvis had been watching. Dion didn't believe it. Not really. So Jarvis pulled out the laptop. The site loaded. The stream was already live. There he was, the neighbor with the wife, shirtless, masked, lit in a soft red glow, moving like he was alone but knew exactly how to be watched. Dion leaned forward, one eyebrow raised. Jarvis didn't say anything else. He didn't have to. A notification popped up in the corner of the screen. It was a private message. Jarvis read it silently at first. Then again, slower. The married neighbor had written, asking if Jarvis was watching him with a friend. Said he'd noticed someone come over earlier. The next message came quickly, asking if the two of them wanted a private show. Jarvis read the message out loud. Dion stared at the screen, then at him. He shrugged like it was nothing, like they were just two grown men with a buzz and too much time on their hands. He said, "Maybe it could be a fun story." Jarvis typed back. Said they were in. They didn't overthink it. Didn't even put on real shoes. Just crossed the lawn with the kind of quiet energy that comes from doing something that feels wrong, but already decided. The neighbor with the wife opened the door before they knocked. He was shirtless. The same red lighting from the stream flickered behind him. The air smelled like weed and something more expensive underneath it. He didn't smile, didn't ask questions, just handed each of them a black mask and said it was so they could stop pretending. The tequila was already open on the counter. They each took a shot, then another. The neighbor with the wife started slowly, putting on a show for the two of them. He moved like he'd done this 100 times, like performance was second nature. Jarvis and Dion watched from the couch at first, masks on, letting the moment unfold. But it didn't stay passive for long. The neighbor reached for Jarvis first, pulled him up by the wrist, slow but firm. Then he turned to Dion, drawing him in with the same casual confidence. Before long, it was all of them. The touching started playful, a hand on a thigh, a glance that lingered, the kind of tension that built in layers, subtle but impossible to ignore. Shirts came off, skin met to skin, breath caught between bodies. They moved around each other like they'd done it before, or maybe just imagined it enough that the choreography felt rehearsed. The neighbor kissed Jarvis first. It was rougher than before, hungrier, like he'd been waiting since that moment in the hallway, holding back every second until now. Jarvis didn't hold back this time. Dion stayed on the couch, watching them like it was part of the show. One hand resting between his legs, stroking himself slow. The neighbor kissed Jarvis down his chest, across his stomach, down the trail of hair that led beneath his waistband. Then he dropped to his knees. He pulled Jarvis forward, gently lifting one leg and spreading him open. And then the neighbor with the wife buried his face between Jarvis's butt cheeks, licking slow, deep, and without shame. His tongue moved like it had purpose, like this was the reward he'd been chasing since that first tip on the campsite. Jarvis gripped the back of the couch for balance, knees shaking. And Dion, still masked, still hard, watched without saying a word. If you haven't heard the previous chapters, go back and get into it. But here's a quick catch-up. Jarvis, the neighbor, got curious, clicked into a campsite, and saw something he wasn't supposed to see. Terry, the man with a wife next door, masked up and putting on a show for strangers. That curiosity turned physical. First a visit, then a hallway kiss, and then his friend got involved. Claire, the wife, still hosting bake sales and block parties like nothing's off. In the last chapter, we saw Claire unlocking the door while Jarvis, the neighbor, was pressed against the hallway wall, lips still wet from a kiss with her husband, managing to keep their secret romance still a secret. The backyard looked like a Pinterest board come to life. White folding chairs, pink napkins, a giant balloon floating in the center of it all. Claire, the wife, was radiant, hair curled, lips glossy, one hand resting on her stomach like she just remembered it was there. She stood beneath a banner that said, "Boy or girl?" As neighbors gathered around holding phones, drinks, and secrets. Terry, her husband, stood behind her, his arm a little too posed around her waist. Jarvis, the neighbor he's sleeping with, kept to the back, next to the drinks table, next to Dion, silently watching. The countdown started. Phones raised, a needle pricked the balloon, pink confetti rained, and everyone cheered. Claire, the wife, squealed, threw her head back, and kissed Terry, like nothing in the world was wrong. He smiled for the cameras, but his eyes never met Jarvis. Not once. Later, over cupcakes, Claire pulled Jarvis for a chat, said she wanted him involved, said he gave off Godfather energy, said she trusted him. Her fingers lingered on his arm when she said it. After the cake and the Instagram photos, the crowd started thinning. Claire, the wife, was outside rearranging flower arrangements for the third time. Inside, Jarvis, the neighbor, wandered toward the kitchen to grab a drink. The air was cooler there, Terry, Claire's husband, was already inside, elbows on the counter, head down like he was praying. He looked up slowly, eyes landing on Jarvis like it hurt. Then he nodded toward the hallway. "Can you come upstairs a sec? I need help moving something in the baby room," Terry said. Jarvis didn't ask questions, he just followed. They moved like shadows. Upstairs past the framed maternity photos and baby shower invites taped to the fridge. The guest room that would become the nursery still smelled like paint and potential. But the air shifted the second the door closed behind them. Terry stood with his back to Jarvis, hands on a small dresser, like he was about to move it, like that was still his plan. But he didn't lift it. He turned instead, chest rising, eyes locked and loaded onto Jarvis. Jarvis stepped in first. They didn't kiss. Not yet. Their foreheads touched first, then their hands found each other's torsos. They gripped, clutched, squeezed. Clothes dropped in pieces. A shirt, a belt. Then pants puddled around ankles like this had all been waiting underneath. Terry didn't ask permission. Just moved behind him, steady, urgent, already hard. Jarvis braced against the changing table, breath tight, ready for it. Terry slid inside slow, then deeper, then again. He whispered, "You feel like trouble." Jarvis arched his back in response. The sounds they made weren't pretty. They were real, familiar. The kind two men know how to make when they've stopped pretending they're not going to do this again. It wasn't fast, but it wasn't soft either. They didn't kiss. That would have made it mean something. Their bodies did all the talking, skin on skin, muscle on muscle, until it was over. Downstairs, Claire was holding her phone up to the light, making an Instagram reel to announce her pregnancy online to her followers. Terry, her husband, walked past her, shirt back on, smile reset. He didn't look back. Jarvis, the neighbor, followed, 2 steps behind, adjusting his belt. Claire turned, caught his eye, and smiled. Outside, the wind blew a piece of pink streamer across the porch. Back inside his own place, Jarvis couldn't help but still smell Terry on his skin. The Man Next Door Has a Secret DL Life. Chapter 5. She read the texts. Then her water broke. Of course they kept hooking up. What else was they gonna do? Every cookout, every meeting, every late night walk to the mailbox turned into a quickie behind closed doors. 9 months later, Claire, the wife, is belly first and glowing. While Jarvis, the neighbor, is out here, trying to act like things with Terry, her husband, ain't still complicated. Jarvis had been dating someone. Not serious. Just enough to make it look like he's got his own thing going. Dinner twice a week. Nothing too deep, but petty travels faster than truth. It was a Thursday afternoon when Terry, the man with a wife, saw Jarvis, the neighbor, out in public. They were at the smoothie spot near the gym. Jarvis, laughing with a man who looked like he actually called his mom back. Terry, the man with a wife, didn't approach them, didn't wave. Just waited until later to send a text to Jarvis. "I guess you don't need me no more. Enjoy your mango protein shake, King." Later on that evening, Claire picked up Terry's phone while he was in the shower. She saw the text thread. No tears, no questions. Just a deep exhale. And then her fucking water broke in the hallway before she could even put the phone back. At the hospital, nurses moved like they'd done this 1,000 times. Claire held her belly with one hand. Terry acted like he cared, like he was ready. Hours passed. Contractions came and went. Then the baby arrived. A beautiful baby girl. Terry cut the cord, took the photos, kissed Claire on the forehead. Unaware, Claire saw all the text messages between him and Jarvis. She let him perform husband duties like it mattered. Then she told him to go home. Said she forgot her robe and her charger. She really just wanted some time to herself. Terry pulled into the driveway. The house felt too still, too staged. Jarvis, the neighbor, was outside. As he pulled something from the trunk of the car, Jarvis, the neighbor, stepped closer. It only took one look, one long stare, and next thing they knew, they were inside Terry's house, alone. Inside, the hallway lights were dim. The house smelled like fresh linen and cheap air freshener. Jarvis dropped to his knees the second the door locked. No build-up at all. He tugged down Terry's sweats, mouth open, and took him in full, almost angry. Spit hit the floor. Jarvis gripped Terry's thighs like he was anchoring himself. Terry didn't move, just leaned back against the wall, head tilted up, letting it all happen. Jarvis choked a little but didn't stop. His nose pressed to Terry's pelvis. Eyes shut tight. Every motion said, "Remember this." Every swallow said, "This is still mine." When it was over, Jarvis wiped his lips, then stood quietly. Terry zipped up his pants, grabbed the robe and the charger. "She had the baby," Terry said. Jarvis just nodded. Terry looked at him again. Not with guilt. Not with shame, but with that same tension they'd had since the beginning. This isn't the end. More chapters are coming, and trust, it only gets messier from here. Thank you for listening to Stories Between Us Anthology. You can find every episode on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Rate the show and leave a comment. It helps more people find us.